At my sister's wedding, she spilled wine all over me while my parents laughed. The next morning, she panicked when she realized I was the one supposed to pay the wedding bills. Hi, I'm Mia. But before I tell you how it all began, let me know from which country you're watching from in the comments. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my sister's life. To everyone else, she was the radiant bride, smiling under a veil of perfection, while I played my part as the supportive older sister. But what no one knew, what my sister and my parents had carefully ignored, was that I had spent months secretly covering the financial side of her big day. Growing up, we had always been in competition. Not the sweet kind siblings sometimes have, but the kind that gnawed at your insides. A quiet, unspoken contest to see who could outshine the other. She was always louder, prettier, better at charming adults. I was quieter, steadier, reliable, the one people called when something needed to get done without drama. It was exhausting living in her shadow, constantly undervalued. By the time she got engaged, I had learned to accept it. I smiled when she beamed at her fiancé, clapped for every success, nodded at the world as if she were the sun and I the shadow trailing behind her. And yet, deep down, I knew she relied on me more than anyone realized. I organized the engagement party, coordinated the wedding invitations, and even helped negotiate with the vendors, often behind the scenes while my parents showered her with praise. When the wedding planning reached its peak, my parents started treating me like the unpaid assistant. They expected me to pay for extras, flower arrangements, catering tips, the dress alterations they had somehow forgotten to budget for. I didn't complain. I told myself it was temporary, that someday I'd have my moment. But my sister? She thrived on making me feel invisible. She would throw subtle insults, comparing my dress, my makeup, my personality to the perfect bride image she cultivated, often in front of guests and relatives. The day of the wedding, I woke early, heart pounding with the usual mix of excitement and anxiety. I wanted to enjoy the day despite knowing it wasn't about me. I was dressed in an elegant navy gown, hair pinned back carefully, makeup done flawlessly, ready to support my sister with grace. The venue was a breathtaking hall, decorated with delicate roses and soft fairy lights. Guests arrived, buzzing with joy. Everything was perfect on the surface. And then it happened. During the toast, my sister, in her sparkling white gown, took her glass of red wine and, without hesitation, swept it across my shoulder. The liquid soaked my dress, staining it in thick patches, ruining hours of preparation. Shocked, I froze as the room erupted in laughter, my parents included. Their smiles weren't supportive. They were gleeful, amused at my humiliation. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply walked out, my head high, letting the warmth of embarrassment and anger burn quietly inside me. I left the guests staring, the laughter echoing, but inside a storm was forming. That night, I sat in my car outside the venue, hands trembling from a mixture of rage and disbelief. My sister had humiliated me publicly, my parents had condoned it, and yet I realized something. No one had considered the most important detail. I controlled the money. I had paid for nearly every part of that wedding. The deposits, the catering, the extra flowers, even the photographer's overtime fees. My parents had never questioned it because they assumed I was helping out of familial duty. And my sister never imagined that her older sister could outmaneuver her in the most subtle way. For years I had been underestimated. I had watched my sister charm everyone, manipulate situations, and bask in accolades I had quietly earned behind the scenes. And now, after the wine incident, I realized this was my moment. I didn't need to yell, I didn't need to fight. I only needed to wait for the right moment to reveal the truth. The next morning, I woke early and reviewed the accounts. All the bills had been processed through my personal account, and my sister had no access to them. I had even kept receipts and contracts with my name listed as the primary payer. She assumed everything was her parents' responsibility, but in reality, I had ensured that she was financially reliant on me for the grand day she had humiliated me at. When she called my phone that morning, panic was obvious. The first words out of her mouth were frantic. "Mia, have you paid the florist? And the caterer? What about the photographer?" Her voice trembled, a mixture of fear and disbelief. I smiled quietly, letting her stew. Yes, I said slowly, savoring every syllable. I handled everything. But you really should check your budget before assuming someone else will cover your wedding. I'd hate for anything to go wrong now that all the deposits are due. The silence on the other end was satisfying. I could almost hear her heart racing, the panic growing with every passing second. I didn't rush to help her, didn't reassure her. Let her feel the weight of responsibility she had ignored, the same way she had ignored my years of patience and loyalty. By the end of the day, she realized she had no leverage, no backup, and no family member stepping in to save her from the financial burden. Her perfect wedding facade began to crumble. My parents, who had laughed the day before, suddenly found themselves on my side because they recognized, albeit reluctantly, that I had been the quiet force behind the success of the event all along. Over the next week, the aftermath was delicious. My sister tried to save face, calling vendors and scrambling to cover any perceived missed payments, but I had already done it all. Every detail, every bill, every contract had my name on it. She realized too late that I had orchestrated the entire financial framework of her wedding and had chosen to reveal it only after she had humiliated me publicly. Her panic grew when guests began complimenting the smooth flow of the wedding, unaware of who had really managed it. Vendors called her to confirm arrangements she had assumed were her parents' responsibility. Emails landed in her inbox detailing payments she didn't control. And through it all, I remained calm, polite, even supportive when necessary, but always in control. The ultimate satisfaction came when she confronted me privately. Her usual confidence had evaporated. She stammered, searching for excuses, but I only smiled. "You assumed everything was yours by right," I said softly. "But I handled everything. Maybe next time, think twice before trying to humiliate someone who quietly holds the strings." I could see the shock in her eyes, the realization that her older sister, whom she had belittled for years, was the one who had orchestrated the perfect day. And all her power, all her public superiority had been an illusion. Looking back, I realized revenge doesn't always require confrontation. Sometimes it's patience, strategy, and timing. Let the person think they're in control, let them make the mistake of underestimating you, and then quietly reveal the truth. There's no greater satisfaction than watching someone panic at their own misjudgment while you remain unshaken. That day, I didn't just get my revenge. I reclaimed my dignity, my authority, and my place in my family. My sister learned a lesson she won't forget anytime soon, and my parents finally saw me for the person I really am, not just the quiet, invisible older daughter. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Sweet Revenge Unfolded for more. New episodes drop every single day, each one more shocking and satisfying than the last.